Hello, and thanks for listening. I'm Steve Scheinman, president of the Skaneateles Festival Board of Directors, and this is the SkanFest podcast, an interview series for the Skaneateles Festival. We are a summer concert series based in the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York during the month of August. This year, we are presenting our 46th season. On the podcast, we spend time getting to know our visiting artists who travel the world making music of the very highest caliber. Our guests today have been described as Australian guitarist brothers making history. Ziggy and Miles are two of their home country's finest young musicians, currently forging an international career. They are Juilliard graduates and already highly decorated musicians. Ziggy and Miles are with us for a week of events at the festival. Thanks to you both for coming in to talk.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for letting us be here.
Can we start with asking you just to give us a little background on each of you? Where do you come from? What started your journey in making music together?
So, we're brothers, guitarists. We're from Melbourne, Australia. We got started playing guitar each at the age of 5 just because our parents said, you guys are playing guitar. And kids don't have free will at that age, so, But then we just kind of kept doing it, loved it more and more as we got older.
It was also, I wouldn't say convenient, but it helped that our parents both played guitar. They played a bit of country and rock and roll on the couch at home. So nothing formally trained or anything like that. It's basically guitar is their hobby. So, they were very enthusiastic about us learning guitar and were very nurturing through that learning process. And I guess one thing led to another, and we just loved it more and more as we did it. And now here we are in New York.
So it sounds like it was always guitar for you. Do you play any other instruments?
Oh, you don't want to hear us play other instruments. We are
Neither do you want to hear us sing or anything like that. Don't want to shatter glasses or anything like that. Although that would be a unique skill for The Voice or America's Got Talent.
And do you always play together? Well, or have you performed individually?
Well, we have done stuff individually, but, we grew up being Suzuki guitar students. And the nature of learning with that particular method is that you have your individual lessons, then you also come together as a group and play things together. So from a young age, we were always playing things together. And then when we were going through our undergraduate degrees, we'd obviously be competing in competitions as soloists.
Even before that,
in
high school, we would compete against each other in competitions all the time. Speaking of which, it's much nicer when we don't have to compete against each other because there is only one winner most of the time. And as the older brother, it is very depressing when he beats me.
Yeah, a little bit. But yeah, so, when we came to the US, we had already established, kind of a bit of a career for ourselves as young artists in Australia, both as soloists and also as a duo. But throughout our lives, every time that we were asked to do a solo concert, we'd be like, yes, we could, but would you be interested in us doing this together? Because we enjoy performing together more than individually, and we have a lot more repertoire under our disposal as a duo. So it was just kind of the natural progression for us to want to pivot towards duo rather than solo.
So you were the first guitar duo to be accepted into Juilliard's diploma program.
Yep, artist diploma program.
Can you talk a little about what that application process was like and also what your experience was in the program?
Yeah, sure. So the artist diploma at Juilliard is a very unique performance-focused program because there's so few places. Before we were accepted, there were 4 students each year of every instrument, across every instrument that were accepted. From our year, there was 7, and there has been since each year. But it's kind of the top performance program in the school, and it's also kind of mysterious to even students in the program because there's so much flexibility. You don't really know what those students are doing a lot of the time.
Yeah, the kind of way that the dean describes it is that Juilliard is your candy store and you can do what you want. So you can take what you want.
So you get full access to Juilliard's educational resources. So, for example, working with dance or drama professors, you can do that. You can work with any music professor in the school. We worked with drama professors on speech and movement and clown work, technically, which was one of the most uncomfortable things that we've done, but also very helpful for exploring what we don't want to do.
Yeah.
So it's this incredible program where obviously you still get lessons, you get some performance opportunities, but it's really an educational experience as much as a professional one. So going into that program, going into the application process and the audition, it's very much you need to understand how you can utilize Juilliard's amazing resources for that. The audition process, so like any audition, you have to audition. You have to have a program that fits within certain criteria, repertoire criteria, like piece from Bach, piece from modern, etc. For guitar, because we didn't really, there's no Baroque pieces written for two guitars.
And also there was no guitar duo specific audition requirements. Juilliard was the one school that let us apply as a duo, because the artist diploma program exists in many schools, both in the US and internationally. So, this had never really been done, and they let us apply, and they said, okay, you can kind of choose your repertoire because, make it fit within the sort of guidelines that guitar already has, but just kind of apply it to guitar duo a bit more.
And Juilliard also has had, they one of the reasons they let us, firstly because Juilliard is very flexible in many ways, but also because they've had, I think, a four-hands piano duo once before and a piano-violin duo in artist diploma once before. So we know they have a history of allowing that to some extent. But so you audition to the panel of whatever instrument you are. So for us in guitar, it's literally just our guitar teacher at Juilliard, the amazing Sharon Isbin. Whereas like violin, you auditioning in front of all the strings, obviously piano in front of the pianists. But then from there, you get passed on to the artist diploma committee, basically the top of each instrument, they're passed along, and they don't listen to you play whatsoever, and they decide whether you get in completely based on the materials that you submit.
Yeah, so part of the application, we had to submit various essays, the main one being a project essay, which is basically like a 2-page document outlining, like Ziggy said earlier, how we can utilize Juilliard's resources to aid the direction that we want our career to go in. So it has to have an element of focus on, where we see ourselves going, which can be very difficult to define for a lot of people as well, and takes a lot of time to really think about your career trajectory and kind of outline that very clearly. But then also outlining how Juilliard could help us get there in sort of a very direct kind of way. So we obviously spoke to a lot of people in advance submitting that essay because, there's so many ways which Juilliard can help an individual person, and that is different to everyone as well.
We also applied twice. The first year we got waitlisted.
Yeah, that's true.
So right after graduating our masters, which we studied as soloists at Juilliard, we applied, we didn't get in, but going through the application process, we learned so much about what we did and didn't want to do, and a lot more about our values as artists and the kind of long-term directions and goals that we have.
Yeah, because it is called the artist diploma, so you have to have some sort of sense of who you are as an artist going into it. It's not just like a lot of people apply and say, I just want to do competitions. It's like, well, great, but you can do that at any school. Why do you want to do that at Juilliard specifically? So yeah, and it helped, and we got in, and it was a great learning experience for us both as individuals, as an ensemble, and also we got a lot of career mentorship, which was one of the best parts of the program.
Yeah.
So you had basically the run of Juilliard.
Basically,
much.
Yeah.
We definitely utilized their resources very well. Juilliard was quite happy with how we spent our time during the artist diploma.
And one of the things you chose to ask for training in was clowning, which was more challenging than it sounds like anything else you did at Juilliard. Did you want that training because your performance is physically performative as well?
Well, I guess the easier way to explain it was that, because there is some element of comedy in what we do inherently, like being brothers. Not so much while we play music, but in the concert setting, we try to surround the often very serious music that we play with our personality, with the way we announce the pieces, the way we talk, still having the music be the focus, but having elements of humor and lightheartedness to just create a welcoming atmosphere to audience members of any experience, basically.
Yeah. So, there was a time right before we started in the artist diploma when we were sort of thinking, okay, we don't know how much of this sort of comedy we want to lean into when we do our performances, because we see the entire performance as an experience, the performance experience, if you will.
Like right from when you start walking on stage to when you're done schmoozing with people right after the concert.
That is all encapsulated in the performance experience. So we had some instances where, we did a house concert in Long Island, New York, and it was for some people that are very dear friends of ours and their sort of families and friends, whatnot. And it was one of those performances where every single joke we did landed really, really well. Like the comedic timing between us was just on point. So we thought, okay, where do we want to take this? So that's when we went to these drama professors, one about speech and diction. And then she was the one that recommended that we work with this guy that specializes in movement and clown work, because, he was the perfect person to sort of get us uncomfortable in situations and doing these acting improv games. And it was one of those experiences where we, indirectly made us learn, okay, we realized that we don't want to lean into we don't want to be comedians on stage, because that's just not who we are. But we, through that, discovered a healthy balance between what we wanted.
Well, it sounds like your performances engage the audience in ways that not everybody does, and I think you'll love the audience here.
We've been told great things about the audiences at this festival, and we can't wait to play throughout the week.
So, is there something particular about a guitar duo that is different from other sorts of ensembles, or different from performing individually?
So, one of the biggest strengths that the guitar, and the classical guitar especially, has is intimacy. Guitar inherently is an intimate instrument, not as loud as piano or violin, and in big concert halls we often need the assistance of amplification. Guitar duo makes some of the volume side of things a bit easier, but more importantly, it adds dialogue and coordination to that intimacy. And as artists, such a big thing that we value is the connection with the audience, the connection with other people while we play. And the guitar duo, sharing it with this guy, gives us opportunities to share in a different way than we would as soloists.
Yeah, I would say that, guitar itself is kind of like, I can't remember who said it. Was it Chopin or someone that said the guitar is kind of like a mini orchestra with the amount of colors that we have at our disposal.
That quote's been attributed to several people. I can't remember the official off the top of my head.
Someone of note said it at some point. And then, so as two guitars, we can kind of take that, because there's a aspect of, okay, we are playing as an orchestra now as two people, so we have immediately an even wider range of colors and emotions that we can evoke through our music making. But then there's also an aspect of chamber music, because there are two of us, just like any other chamber ensemble. But then also, because we play the same instrument, there is an aspect of us sounding like one person.
Especially when arranging works by Claude Debussy through like our arrangement of Suite Bergamesque, or future arrangements working on with Bach, works that were written for keyboard. With the way that we approach them, there is that dialogue between whether we as a duo are playing as a soloist, as chamber music, or as a small orchestra in some ways, with the way that we utilize colors to bring out different voices or portray different instruments, for example.
Yeah.
Wow. I can't wait till your performance. Are there particular musicians or other figures that you look up to that inspire you?
Oh my God, where do we start? There's obviously we grew up with, rock music as our home in Australia. Like, we loved AC/DC and Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, the Beatles, and
obviously I'm named after, well, not necessarily obviously, but I'm named after David Bowie, for example. So there's like our parents, we grew up with the music that they grew up with. Well, I guess not just the music they grew up with, like more recent bands like Muse, for example, that were a band that we enjoyed when we were younger.
Yeah. And then from there, we started to actually really appreciate classical music in our teenage years, more so than earlier on. And that's when we, really started to listen to music by Beethoven and other works by Bach that weren't necessarily on the guitar. And then we got exposed to like a whole bunch of amazing jazz musicians like Pat Metheny and, Wes Montgomery. And then from there, we also got to see the amazing Punch Brothers perform. Who, if you don't know who the Punch Brothers are, they are one of the world-class bluegrass bands. But they are also phenomenal musicians in general. Mm-hmm. The mandolinist Chris Thilly, he commonly tours with Yo Ma, and Edgar Myers, and is like a huge figure in music in the US in general. Yeah, so throughout our kind of journey as guitarists, we've always had different genres of music just around us constantly. We also learnt jazz on the side for 5 years, so we improvise in our own sort of concerts every once in a while, and especially when we do background music performances. So I wouldn't say there's like one influence. There's just a huge plethora of people that have kind of just inspired us in many different ways. But I guess some of our most listened to artists are like Steve Vai and Joe Satriani, Pat Metheny, Punch Brothers, Johann Sebastian Bach. We like our Bach. Yeah. But then also artists like Yo-Yo Ma, obviously phenomenal musician, but as an artist in general, like what he contributes to community, and many artists are doing as well, music is not the only thing that a lot of artists do these days.
So in 2014, you self-recorded an album. Can you talk a little about what that experience was like?
Yeah, that was a fun experience because, well, I was still in high school at that stage. Ziggy just finished high school when we recorded the album.
So was this before I turned 18? I think I was 17
when we recorded. You were 17 when we recorded, yeah. And then it was released later. But that was one of those times where we thought we were good. We realized we were not as good as we thought we were.
Let me reframe this. We thought we were prepared.
Yes, that's a better way to put it.
We thought we were prepared for the recording. Being exposed or going through that experience taught us so much about what preparation looks like. Mm-hmm. In Australia, the standard of classical music isn't quite as high as the US or Europe because
we're a newer country.
We're a newer country, but we're also more secluded from the rest of the world. There isn't as much competition, and the country also doesn't have as much of a history around classical music like the US does, or Europe, and etc. So there isn't as much of a push for excellence, but also because there's smaller population, fewer teachers that are able to teach what professionalism and going through a lot of these experiences look like.
Yeah, like we thought we knew how to practice efficiently, and going through that experience really was an eye-opening experience where we're like, okay, this is what we should be doing going forwards. And whilst we are very happy with how the album turned out, like we're still, proud of it as it's kind of a landmark recording of us as teenagers. It's it was a very big learning experience, and that has informed our future recordings. Like we did our second album in 2023, and going back into the studio almost 10 years later to record a second album it's like, okay, this seems familiar. We're going into this with a new sort of attention to detail and a new sort of attention to, okay, we know what we're getting ourselves into this time, and we can plan our time much more efficiently. And we're recording our third album later this year. So that's going to be more of the same.
But recording an album at such an early age, because albums in general, CD recordings, there's not as much of an industry around them now as there was pre-Spotify, pre-iTunes, and etc. That being said, it's still kind of a physical statement of professionalism. It's like a very expensive business card in some ways that takes longer to pay itself back off. But the professional opportunities that came for us from it, people started taking us seriously and saying, these guys actually are trying to do this professionally, and people helped us out more going in that direction.
Yeah.
So you are not just a musical duo, you are brothers.
Yes.
And so can you talk a little bit about how performing with your brother is different from performing with someone else, and the pluses and minuses there, because those of us with siblings know it's not always plus.
Yes. Well,
Yes.
I will say this. You can be brutally honest with one another. Take
Yeah.
that as a positive or a negative. And,
Yeah.
we've been working together for such a long time now that we, any sort of dispute that we might have is, in the long scheme of things, pretty trivial. And we, because we know each other so well, we've grown up living with each other. It's been sort of what?
Just keep going. I'm going to say stuff when it's my turn to say stuff.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'll say that it's been, working with someone that closely for such a long time, it makes when we're creating interpretations, it kind of sometimes makes it more natural, but at the same time, we are different people. So we do have different ideas, but we take it as a chance that we can workshop things more extensively to create something that is, that we are both very happy with. And if for some reason we can't get to a decision, then,
That's what teachers are for, I guess.
or just, outside help, second opinions.
Are you saying that's when we ask mum to solve disputes?
I was going to say Sharon, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. So the other thing about, like, obviously us working together, there's 2 years in between us, so I'm 2 years older, but we both studied our masters at the same time. It just so happened that we chose to apply to study overseas the same year. So we studied together, we lived together.
In the dorms.
In a
bunk bed.
Don't remind me. Then after graduation, we also continued to live together, work together professionally, lots of similar friends, etc. A lot of contact hours together. It is a lot. Mm-hmm. And this, well, since January actually, a bit before, but basically the past year has been a really positive change in our dynamic and our working relationship and also professional relationship, because we do not live together anymore. So I don't need to deal with him on a daily basis, which is so freeing. Miles moved in with his girlfriend in the start of January. So I'm not going to say I got kicked to the curb, but it did take me a while to find an apartment in New York City in my budget.
Yeah. But it did, we've heard this as well with string quartets. Like, we've spoken to string quartets, and, they, people that work together very, very closely, because string quartets have to be very, very tightly, tight together as an ensemble as well. And, also we'd speak to mentors of ours, and they would be like, wow, you guys live together? Like, how do you do it? And these are people that are professionals in the industry that have been doing this for ages. And we'd be like, that's a good question. We don't... Yeah.
Why are we dealing with each other?
Yeah. So
why do I have to put up with his...
I mean, like, when we were
everything?
younger, it was a lot easier for us to sort of live together and do things
Yes,
together. But then
we definitely put up with a lot more toxicity from each other when we were younger. Let's just put it
that's
that
true.
way.
Yeah. But I feel like, this past year, it's like, we felt we were ready to sort of, have individual lives outside of our duo, which before it kind of felt like the idea of work and personal life was a bit blurred together too much. But now it's a lot more stable, it feels like.
Yeah, there's a lot of complexity in general that goes into the relationships in professional, but also friendly and familial relationships. And you always hear ensembles either talking about the music or the good stuff. It's much more rare to talk about the difficult and, well, yeah, the more difficult stuff in general. But it's stuff that can't be shied away from, especially as an ensemble. Like, you can talk about the good stuff, but you also have to be able to communicate about the difficult stuff. And learning that has been very important for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. So in your professional development, have there been moments that were particularly challenging or that represented obstacles you had to overcome? Or on the other side of that, have there been moments that were particularly wonderful?
You know, I would say that there's been a lot of times when, especially adapting to moving to another country, that has been both challenging but also very, rewarding. So, obviously we came from Australia and we moved straight to New York City. That was our first time ever living not only outside of Australia, but also outside of home with mum and dad. So there was, some adjustments there. And then also we moved to the US in 2019, right before things happened. And, there was a period, particularly the year after we graduated from our master's degree. We had 1 year freelancing in New York before we went into the artist diploma program at Juilliard. And that year freelancing was probably one of the, I'd say, professionally toughest years that we've had, because COVID was still a thing. People weren't hiring us to do many performances. And if they were very small. And, there are a lot of moments where we seriously considered, is music actually like a viable career for us?
Especially because, like, living in the US and in New York City, it's such a wonderful place, just being surrounded by art and incredible people that are just incredibly passionate and the tops of what they do in every field. So we wanted to continue living in New York City if possible. So there were definitely moments where we had to really consider what we will end up doing.
Yeah. But
the real turning point for us was winning the Young Concert Artists competition, which we were also the first guitar duo to win that. But when we were sitting in the audience of Merkin Hall as they were announcing the winners, because of how tough things were the past few years, not just obviously from COVID, but creating a career as guitarist in a guitar duo, there's not as many opportunities for us as string players or pianists. There are no orchestra jobs. There's less positions at universities. We can't accompany people as regularly within chamber music series and etc. When that announcement came across, I just was uncontrollably crying a lot of the time. Just because it's finally it's an acknowledgement that our artistry is valued and that we will be able to continue sharing it with audiences and doing the thing that we've been doing since we were 5 years old, something that's so precious and important to us.
Yeah. Something
that is so at the heart of our beings and that has shaped us so much to where we are now.
Yeah, we won that competition at the end of 2023, and that was, going into our last year of artist diploma. Well, it was in our last year of artist diploma, actually. So we were about to graduate we won the competition in November. We were going to graduate in May the following year. And so that competition for us, we were seeing as okay, this is the last kind of thing that we have.
The last thing that we can do that will meaningfully change things for us and help us create a career.
Otherwise, we were honestly going to consider maybe going into corporate and just taking a complete sidestep from music.
But then also through that, using the money that we'd earn to commission composers and still do music more on the side, but not so much as a focus. And we are so glad that we don't have to do that.
Yeah, things worked out for the best right when it was crucially that it had to work out.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here, basically. Without, if it wasn't for that, we might not be able to say we are full-time musicians and, have all the amazing concerts and things we've been doing the past year.
Yeah.
Well, so we all won.
I guess so, yeah.
So you, in addition to your musical career, you do a lot of community engagement.
Yes.
So you visit nursing homes, you visit psychiatric wards. This week you'll be visiting the Golisano Children's Hospital. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that fits into your performing career and how that's part of who you are?
Sure.
So the first kind of time we did music community engagement as artists and as musicians was back in Australia. We did a 2-week tour of community centres,
Aged care facilities, hospitals.
But also then like psychiatric wards, care facilities for people with severe brain damage and
like physical disabilities from car accidents or, things like that.
Yeah. And that was really an eye-opening experience to see the power that music can have on people. That being said, as artists, we don't necessarily see how that impacts people. The carers do, though. The people that see those audience members every day and deal with them on a daily basis, they're the ones that see the positive impacts it have. In one of the aged care facilities we performed for, one of the carers was literally telling us that for some audience members, just like tapping a finger can be a big thing, or like tapping a foot, or being able to fall asleep during a performance when they have great difficulty doing so because of the pain that or whatever they deal with on a day-to-day basis. There's simple things like that that are so transformative and moving, but then also patients with let's just say limited memory in recent years that may remember a concert from like 3 months ago when they normally wouldn't remember anything in the past 10 years. Music really hits to the core of so many of us in ways that we don't necessarily see or realize. And it's a real great pleasure to be able to offer those experiences to people. And it's incredibly meaningful for us, but also some of the most uniquely challenging and rewarding performances we've done. And we're very happy to continue doing that, obviously, in the US in general, but especially at this festival. Music should be shared with every audience, and as classical musicians, it's important to bring live music to the audiences that normally aren't able to go out and attend a concert in Carnegie Hall or whatever.
Yeah. And also as guitarists, we're fortunate because we have very portable instruments. So we can really play anywhere and bring music to literally anyone, anywhere. So it's, it's a very, very big privilege of us, and we definitely value it just as highly as we do our regular concerts in the concert halls.
Thank you. So you're here for the week.
Yes.
And you have quite a schedule of activities. Can you give us a glimpse of what you'll be doing this week?
Well, later today we're playing at a hospital in Ithaca. Tomorrow we are doing two different performances.
I'm bringing the schedule up. Yep. Tomorrow we're in Syracuse at a children's hospital, and Marcellus?
Woods Nature Center. So the
Baltimore Woods,
yes, that one. So people walk the trail. They'll hear music while they walk along, and we'll be a part of that. And then
this is the Wednesday.
Wednesday we're playing at May Memorial Universalist Society in Syracuse, which is an afternoon sort of concert, 1:30. And then Thursday we're doing another concert in Auburn at the Seymour Library, and then Friday is our evening concert that we're sharing with Aaron Wanch and Julia, the artistic directors.
As you can kind of guess, when we have so many concerts, it's very difficult to remember like each individual performance and where it is. But going there, we always, because we're performers, that's the thing that we do best. When we're in the moment there sharing with an audience, that's when we're most alive.
Yeah.
Scheduling and the business side of things is an important but sometimes unfortunate job part of what we do.
Yeah, but it's a very busy week, and we're just not. I feel like we're lucky to be in such a beautiful part of the country for a whole week. I mean, so many times when we play at a particular festival or a venue, whatever, we'll fly in the day before, play the concert, fly out the next day, and we don't really get to experience places as much as we would like to. It's more so just we go there for work, then we leave, which is the sad reality of a lot of performing musicians, actually.
And here, we're not just experiencing Skaneateles, we're experiencing all the surrounding towns in the Finger Lakes, and it's really unique and wonderful experience for us to do so.
Yeah.
Yes, well, I think you'll find what a wonderful place this is. And these outreach activities are something that the festival's been doing for only a few years now, and it's really something that we bring to the community that we're really very excited about.
Amazing.
So are there any performances you've been doing outside of this festival or projects that are upcoming that you'd like to tell us about?
So, I mean, we always have upcoming concerts. To check out our schedule, it's on our website, ziggyandmiles.com. We have a schedule page that has all of our upcoming concerts both in the US and in Australia.
Or internationally as well. We're going to Brazil for the first time next March, which is going to be very exciting.
Yeah, we're playing in Sao Paulo at the Cultural Artistica, which is their kind of Carnegie Hall equivalent.
Yeah. And that's exciting. But other projects, we are working on our third album at the moment, which we're recording at the end of this year, which is actually going to be an all-Australian album. So we're commissioning 2 new works for the album, as well as
creating first recordings for some other pieces by Australian composers. We've got female composers, we've got Indigenous composers, we've got Nigel Westlake, who's a big Australian composer that we recorded one of his works on our previous album.
Yeah, it's kind of our statements to our sort of passion for Australian music, because also we live in the US for 10 months of the year. We only go home, 1, 2, 3 months of the year at a time. So it's kind of like we want to share this music with the rest of the world. And so this recording for us is really kind of solidifying this music and then presenting it for as many people as we possibly can.
Yeah, and also because Australian art, it's very rare for that to get showcased overseas, and it's a big reason of why we enjoy classical music so much. Growing up playing Australian guitar music, it was actually like the thing that made us fall in love with the instrument. It wasn't Bach like so many musicians. We do love Bach. But that's kind of a separate kind of inward exploration, exploring Bach. Australian works and Australian composers are some of the most meaningful and important music for us. Obviously, like with our upbringing, but also as professionals, we want to be able to showcase this amazing music to new audiences. And showcasing the art that Australia produces through music is one of our greatest pleasures.
Yeah, we always try and play something Australian in our concerts when we can.
Well, it's wonderful to hear about the success that you've been having, and we're excited to have you at this stage in your career when we can benefit from all of that. So guitar duo Ziggy and Miles are with us for a whole week of free and ticketed events, culminating in a concert on Friday, August 6th. I'm sorry, it's Friday, August 8th, shared with artistic directors Aaron Wunsch and Julia Bruskin. To learn more about our 46th season and buy tickets, please visit www.skanfest.org. Thanks again, Ziggy and Miles.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.